You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next, the June 6th meeting of the Michigan City Board of Public Works and Safety. You can find more information for this meeting by going to www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting of the Michigan City Board of Public Works and Safety to order this 6th day of June, 2022. Present are Mayor Perry, Mr. Michael Vincent, and myself, Virginia Keating. We have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the regular hybrid Zoom meeting of May 16th, 2022, and the special hybrid Zoom meeting of May 27th, 2022. Are there any corrections?
None here, Madam Chair.
And do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Motion to approve.
Support?
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. Next item on the agenda is the awarding of surplus bus rolling stock transit buses. We opened the bids at the last meeting and we're here for recommendations. The first one that we're going to start with is the 2013 Freightliner Legacy number 40. Do we have a recommendation on this one?
Ms. Tillman has recommended Roberto Anamorado, and the amount of $3,700 was the lowest bid.
Thank you. Then do I have a motion to award this bid to Mr. Amarato?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. My understanding is the next two, the 2013 Freightliner Legacy 42 and the Freightliner Legacy 44, there were no bids on those. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Then the next one is the 2015 Freightliner Legacy number 48. Who is the highest bidder on that?
Jason Stimley in the amount of $3,900.
Okay, then do I hear a motion to approve the sale?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. The last item is the 2015 Freightliner Legacy number 50. Any recommendation on this one?
Yes, Jason Stimley in the amount of $3,900 is the lowest as well.
Okay, then do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay,
Second.
then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. The next item on the agenda is the awarding of bids for a 3-year lease program for 11 Dodge Durangos, police pursuit packages, and 1 Dodge Ram 1500 police pursuit package.
Good morning. Marty Corley, Chief Operations. We only have one bid come in from LaPorte Chrysler. Talked it over with Attorney LePage. Everything seems okay. So,
Do you recommend that?
Yes, I would recommend
Okay.
accepting the bid.
Any public comment, any board comments, then
I have a question, Madam Chair.
please go ahead.
In talking with some police officers, are you looking at preferential options? For example, carpet instead of vinyl? What I understand is if it's a vinyl floor and you put a vinyl mat on top of it, you get slip sliding or anything like that? Or are we looking at options for the operators themselves?
So they come standard with, I guess, more of a vinyl floor. And then we have mats that go inside of.
Okay.
No carpet on the vehicles.
Okay, and as long as the mat somehow locks in?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
None here.
Then do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the bid.
Do I have a second?
Support.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a request for streetlights. Linda Berry, 120 Winnipeg Street, is requesting to have streetlights placed on her street for safety reasons. Good morning, Captain.
Good morning, Captain Jeff Lineski, Traffic Division. I did have an opportunity to speak with Linda Berry last week. I went out and inspected the area. If you're not familiar with this area, it's It's on the far west side of the city. It's more of a rural area of the city. It's very dark out there. I believe Ms. Berry informed me that recently she had her house broken into and is concerned about some of the loitering that's going on out there by people who don't belong in the area. On this particular street, there's only 3 houses on that street. It's a very dark street because there's no businesses or anything where you get ambient lighting from other sources. So there's already poles that are installed in that block, so it's not going to cost the city a lot to install a new street light on that block. So I would recommend the installation of a new street light. And I found a pole that would be appropriate for that installation. It would be NIPSCO pole 963 over 323.
963.
Over 323.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? Any board comments?
None here. Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. Thank you, Captain. The next item on the agenda is Brad Minnick, Premier Engineers Limited, is requesting on behalf of NIPSCO to install 5 commercial service applications for various street lighting and traffic signal installations for the double track project. And I see you've listed Franklin Street, Wabash Street, 11th and Washington Street, Wabash Street again, and Washington Street. Why don't you go ahead and explain, identify yourself first, please.
Good morning, Brad Minnick, Premier Engineers, 5281 Fountain Drive, Crown Point. Again, as the NICD double track project progresses, there's need for disconnections and then, in this case, reconnections of street lighting controllers as well as traffic signal controllers. And we want to make sure as it's reconnected, we're routing the bill to the right office in Michigan City. And I believe that would be to Yvonne Hoffmaster. So it's a process with NIPSCO to get everything connected. So to file the commercial service application and get it going in their system takes quite a bit of time. So I just want to make sure that we're routing them to the right spot, Yvonne's office, and continue forward with this and future requests as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any comments from the public? Any board comments or questions?
I have a comment, Madam Chair, that this is an important item, this as well as the next one. Because of the size of the project, we're going to encounter issues like I believe it was last Friday that I got a call from our street department director, Sean Smith, who was with our representing electrical contractor, Marcus Electric, that provisions had not been made with the new installations going on by the NICD electrical contractor for street lighting in the downtown area. We had several blocks of merchants that would not have had lights in front of their store. So I was asked to approve having Marcus tap into the boxes that are there so that we could go into that evening with lighting, which I did. So this is a type of thing that we're going to have, and I'm not criticizing you, Brad. I'm saying this is the kind of thing we're going to have to keep a handle on. As this project continues, we will occasionally get something like this.
Do you have any? Okay. Then do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
And I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. The next item on the agenda is Brad Minnick, Premier Engineers Limited, is requesting on behalf of NIPSCO to energize 12 streetlights along 11th Street for the double track project. Go ahead, please.
Same situation here. These are proposed new lights, and in response to the ones that have been disconnected to date or that will be disconnected in the near future to keep the corridor lit going forward. So
What kind of lights are you talking about?
they are,
Decorative lights?
no, they're the Cobra overhead lights. They're not the decorative lights.
Thank you.
Hanging off the NIPSCO poles.
Yes.
Any public comment? Board comment,
I have a comment, Madam President.
please.
Brad, are these gonna be the new versions of the light, or are we gonna have the purple glow lights? Do you know what I'm referring, the purple glow?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the ones, you're talking about the ones,
That stretch down Cleveland?
like on Cleveland Avenue, right?
Right.
So, as this, again, process with NIPSCO progresses, we'll work with him to select a light, select the location, and so forth. So, we want to be consistent with what the city wants. I've done some research on it, and the expectation is the new billing will be less because the efficiency of the LED lights versus the old Cobra head style lighting. But I'm open to suggestions from the city in terms of, I know 2700 Kelvin was a point of emphasis for the city in terms of light pollution and so forth. So if the city's happy with what's on Cleveland, then we can move forward with that model. There's varying opinions on the different preferences for lighting.
Right, and I don't know if anybody's heard anything about, all I've heard is negative comments on
Yes.
the colorization of the glow of those
Yeah,
lights.
people are not used to that. It does adequately light up the street, but it's not white light like we're used to. But that was investigated, and that is a national problem. It's a defective light. And the manufacturer it's all over the United States. So many communities have this issue that it's going to take a long time for the manufacturer to resupply the communities with white light.
Have you heard how's the manufacturing? Is it reversed? Is the manufacturer now putting out different lighting, or do we have a flow
They're
issue
going to put out different lighting to replace
at
it.
this time or
No,
later?
it's the entire nation. So they're really deep in alligators to get this thing done. It's going to be a while.
Any other comments? Then I'll call for motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve street lighting.
Okay, a second.
Support.
And I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a street closure request. Joseph S. Heinrich, Queen of All Saints Parish, is requesting a street closure to have their annual Queen of All Saints Festival on June 10th through June 12th, 2022, and would like to close Barker Avenue between Carroll and Woodland Avenue. Do I have anyone who's going to speak to this? Perhaps, Captain, you could address it.
Yes, this is an annual request. I know typically in the past, Queens hires a full staff of off-duty officers to address a lot of the issues that occur out there, because we do have some issues that occur around Queens Fest each year. I believe this year, Assistant Chief Corley is in charge of that detail, so I'm sure we'll have a full staff to take care of the issues out there. So we would recommend approval of the request.
Thank you. Amber, is everything in order?
We need an updated certificate of insurance.
Okay, and when would you like that by?
Last week. No. As soon as
I
possible.
did talk to this gentleman and he is trying to get it. So, I mean, he's getting it. So I will call him again this morning. Are there any public comments? Any board comments? Then hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve street closure pending a approved COI.
Okay,
Second.
and then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. Next item on the agenda is another street closure request. Janine Mitchell, 301 South Woodland Avenue, is requesting a street closure on the corner of Woodland Avenue and Short Street to have a Friends Family event on June 18th, 2022, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Is there anyone here to address this? Captain, would you be so kind? Oh, yeah.
Here's
Please come
the
up.
ladies here.
Good morning. I'm Janine Mitchell, and I am requesting a street closure just for that day. In that area, which is Woodland Avenue and Short Street. Short Street, I don't know, it's just short name for it, or just a short street itself. It doesn't go all the way down, so I think that's why it's Short Street. But right on the corner, when you make that turn, when you're coming up Woodland, you want to make your your right, it's congested. There's a lot of cars because there's a brick house that's on that corner. And the people that, always live there, they park right along that part to where cars drive. And then I live on the end where my drive-through runs out. And there's cars parked along there all the time. There has been a little issue, couple of accidents that was never reported, because they felt like, they didn't know who fault it was. So, and my company didn't know who fault it was, but it was just a little small, minor accident, but accident small, turn big. So I'm just requesting that day off because of that. And there's going to be kids in the area. And like I said, when you turn, as cars come through there, and then there's a stop sign on the other end. When they come through, they stop. Of course, you have to wait for the traffic on Woodland to pass, to turn. And, a lot of times they just stop there, especially on days like, people out, they want to stop and look and, hold up traffic. So I'm just looking for the traffic, for that day.
Okay. Captain?
Yes, we did speak last week. I have no issue with this request. The issue is that Woodland Ave, even though you can park on the west side of Woodland Ave, a lot of people don't park there because it's so narrow and it congests traffic. So Ms. Mitchell doesn't want to have her guests park on Woodland Ave because it would just make more problems for Woodland Ave traffic. So we thought it would be best to close off this section of Short Street between Woodland and the alley to allow her guests to park in that block.
I see. Thank you. Are there any public comments? Any board comments?
Just one question, Madam Chair. Ms. Mitchell, are you gonna need a closure barricade at the other end of Short Street?
Well, what I thought about was making right at the corner of Woodland and Short, right at that corner and up to the other street. But then that would hold up people that, and in fact, my neighbors all around that area are in on it as well. Not so much of, what I'm doing, but they plan on being out there, doing, they cook out because it's Father's Day weekend. So I kind of told all my neighbors, not all, but most of them that's in my area, that I was having a nice friends and family day with a DJ, of course. And if they want to join in, that's fine. And most of them is okay with that. So what I'm saying is that I wouldn't want to take up nobody else's spot to where the cars need to turn in. So I just look for right there on the corner of Woodland and Short and right at my alley, which is Short and the alley.
Okay, and the other end of that Short, I think, is Dixon or
Is it
Porter?
Dixon?
South Dixon.
I think so. I think it is
Okay.
Dixon.
And that's not a heavily traveled street, so
No.
as I recall.
No.
Okay, I wanted to make sure that we were taking care of everything that needed to be taken care of. Thank
Okay.
you.
Anything else? Amber, is this in order?
It is. We don't have a certificate of liability insurance. I'm not sure if the road's actually going to be used for anything but parking, so the board could waive it if it's just for parking.
I'll make a motion, we waive it.
I'll second.
Then I'll call for the vote on that issue as well as the approval.
Yes.
Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Benson,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. Next item on the agenda is a contract amendment to the 2022-2024 contract between the Michigan City Fraternal Order of Police, Dunes Lodge 75 regarding Article X supplement benefits, Section I lateral transfer, subsection 2. Amber, would you explain this, please?
Sure. So the council has already approved this amendment, but essentially The parties met, negotiated, contract was signed, but following the FOP vote on it, the lead member of the FOP negotiating team reached out to me before the city actually approved this and suggested a change. It comes out that he did not have authority, that it wasn't included in the members' vote. So we are requesting that that language be what was originally voted on by the FOP. And it deals with just the lateral transfer program and how you characterize an officer that has less than 1 year experience.
Thank you. Any public comments? Any board comments?
None here.
I hear a motion.
I make a
Wait,
motion.
Wait.
Good morning, Board. Paul Przybylski, 1716 Washington Street, Councilman of the Second Ward.
Good morning, Councilman.
I'm also a member of the labor negotiating team, and I am the council member that voted against this amendment because, from my experience of contractual language, I believe that this is not fair. And that to the probies that are hired, and that it talks about part-time experience. And I feel, and I talked to the chairman of the negotiating team to have an executive session, and he did not do that. And so I'm asking you to table this to your next meeting so I can talk to Amber about this and the chairman of the labor negotiating committee and revisit this issue, because the way I interpret it, that they can hire somebody with part-time experience and grandfather them in and give them seniority on that date. And personally, I think that this issue, the way it was brought to us, was not I just had a problem with the way it was brought to us. Okay, after the fact, I thought. And I feel that the way the language works right now, you have to be fair and not give people super seniority, and that's what I felt it was doing. Thank you. So I would appreciate you to table this for one meeting. I'll talk to Amber and the chairman of the Labor Negotiating Committee to explain this in detail, what the language, what was talked about, because I don't believe it's in writing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Councilman Przybylski. Did I hear the discussion on this matter at the last council meeting? Were you discussing this at the last council meeting?
I brought the question up. Yes, I did. And I brought the question up, and that's why, since it's a contractual issue and they voted on it, I guess we can talk about it openly now, that I believe that it gives the, here's what I'll say. It doesn't give a, you want to know my particulars on this, Mr. Vincent?
Well,
Or do you want me to say it out loud in public, or do you want me to hash it out behind closed doors?
No, I'm just,
Because I think we should discuss it behind closed doors in exec session.
Did the council?
yeah, that was part of my question. You said you were the only one voted against it?
That is correct.
So the entire city council voted to approve?
That is correct.
Okay.
And I did not have, and I felt that it should be discussed in an exec session since it's a contractual issue. And I voiced my concerns with it. I didn't voice it in entirety because I thought it should be talked about in an executive session. But I'll tell you right now is I don't think that we should hire anybody with part-time help and put them in front of people that are probies. I thought that the language needed to be more inclusive, Mr. Vincent, to talk about what they were doing and how they were hiring. Because my objection was this, Mr. Vincent and the board, is that we pass an ordinance and then the merit commission interprets it the way they want. And I didn't want that happening. I wanted it to be crystal clear on how they're going to deal with part-time people. Thank you. Do you have any more questions?
No, that's it. Thank you, Paul.
I have a question, Madam Chair, Mr. Councilman Prisbinski. You said this, you mentioned this in a council meeting. Didn't you not also discuss this in one of your labor committee meetings? You brought this and no action was taken on it?
No, I did not discuss it in one of these, in our labor negotiating meetings because it wasn't clarified.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve.
Second,
And I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. Next item on the agenda is Councilman Paul Prespolinski, 1716 Washington Street, is requesting that the streetlight poles located in the 1600 to 1800 blocks on Wabash Street be repositioned due to the demolition of St. Anthony's Hospital, and is requesting to know when the unused retired poles in the community are going to be removed. So that's two questions here that we have before us. Councilman, would you like to come up to the mic, please?
Good morning, board. Paul Prespolinski, 1716 Washington Street. Yes, I'm asking that there be some lighting put up because the void on Wabash Street, since the hospital's gone and all their, I guess, perimeter lighting is gone. They used to light up that corridor. Now, there are some street lights that are right up here on the property of the old street department. There's two, I think three that are up there. I don't know if we're still paying on them, but I think that it's not a outlandish request because we're supposed to be saving money on all these new street lighting, and that, you know, I feel that living in that neighborhood, that these people should also have the security that other neighborhoods should have. But now the second part of that on the requesting of these poles be retired is that I know that this has been an ongoing issue, and I would just like to know, where are we going? Do we have to go to the Utility Regulatory Commission to get Verizon to move? Because what I was told that's the problem on Verizon moving their wires off of the old poles. I know that NIPSCO doesn't have the authority to tell them that, but do we have the authority, or did we lose it when they changed the FCC changed the Communication Act of regulating these local cable companies? So that's what I'm wondering. What do we got to do? Because we got a lot of these poles that are out there. Some were removed, but there's a lot of other ones that have not been removed. So I'm asking that, you know, we move forward and find out what we got to do to, you know, clean up some of these neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brad, perhaps you could come up. Let's talk about the issue of repositioning those poles.
Okay, sure. I can look at that. We're looking at
Okay.
lighting various areas across the city. So
Okay, and how long will that take you?
should have a handle on it by the first meeting in July.
Okay, so if we put it on the agenda for the first meeting in July, that will be fine with you?
That'd be
Okay.
fine.
And we'll do that. We'll put it on a pending items list for the first week in July, or first meeting in July. The other issue has been an ongoing problem. I don't know if you were aware of this. Councilman Prespolinski came to us, a good number of months
Some
ago
time ago,
regarding
yes.
this, and we have had no success. Is there anything that you would suggest or you can do to help find out how we can go about getting those unused or retired poles taken down?
I could look into it further in
Okay.
terms of NIPSCO and their agreement with, as they call them, tenants, as they hang on their poles.
Okay,
And what the duration of that agreement is and so forth.
okay. And then if we put this on our pending items list for the first meeting in July, would that work for you?
Yep, and I'll give any update I'm able to get between now and then.
And we'll do that. Are there any public comments, any board comments?
And here, Madam Chair.
Okay, then do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion. We table this until the first meeting in July.
Okay, just a second.
Support?
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Thank you both. Next item on the agenda is the payroll docket for May 20th, 2022. The city payroll of $791,418.20. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion, we approve.
Support?
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The next item is the claims docket for June 6, 2022. We have municipal claims of $931,319.08. CDBG, which is the Community Development Block Grant of $24,966.83. Health and Life Insurance Fund of $515,530.35. And Workers' Comp Trust in the sum of $53,379.56. Total claims, $1,525,195.82. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair, motion to approve this claims as stated for the as stated amount.
Thank you.
Second.
And I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Next item on the agenda is the unfinished business list. The first item that is set for today is Brad Minnick was requesting to energize 4 street lighting controller cabinets and 1 traffic signal along 11th Street. Brad, how are we doing on this? What's the status?
That was the one we discussed earlier this meeting, so
Okay.
we're good to go on that.
Okay, all right. The next item on the agenda, I think that's all I have for you right now, Brad. Next item on the agenda is the James Hutter, treasurer of Commerce Square Condo Association, is requesting a barrier to be placed at the corner of US 12 and Highway 35 and Spring Street. Captain?
Yes, I'm requesting that this be tabled until the next meeting again. I just received all the accident reports from the state last week, and I haven't had an opportunity to go over those accident stats with Mr. Minnick yet. So I'd like to review those before we make any recommendation, because this would be an expensive proposition to do. So we want to make sure it's worth it. So.
Thank you. It'll remain on our pending items list then. Next item on the agenda is Michael Ainsworth, 1204 West 7th Street, is requesting to purchase city-owned property. We put this on the agenda for a status. Amber?
And Skylar just walked in right now. So I've spoken with Skylar about this request, and basically the position is to deny the request at this time. I believe Skylar spoke to this board a couple meetings ago about redevelopment, doing a housing study. And after looking at this lot, he believes that this lot would be a viable lot to put a house on, and doesn't want to proceed forward with it just at this time. Doesn't mean we're not gonna later, but just to deny it this time.
Thank you for your consideration.
Do I have a motion?
Are you honoring questions?
Yes,
from the-
certainly.
from the council?
Certainly, go ahead.
I have a question for Planning Director York. Is this a one and only lot that you're looking at possibly putting a house on, or are there a series of lots clumped together in that area?
There are lots across the city that we're looking at, and this lot actually is not a substandard lot. It actually is a very viable lot with respect to the size that it is. A lot of lots are only about 25 foot. We had a lot of older houses that were torn down. They set on 25-foot lots, which is a little bit harder to put a house on. This is actually a really good lot. It's a little bit bigger than most lots. Right now, we're not just looking at one specific spot. We're looking at a lot of different neighborhoods where new housing can come in and infill housing, actually. So we can start putting missing teeth, if you will, back into our neighborhoods. And, we want to make sure we're getting houses and not just sitting on vacant lots. Vacant lots don't contribute to their tax base. So that's kind of the idea of the program and the project. You'll be hearing a little bit more about it in the near future.
I have additional questions.
Please do.
Sure. Mr. York, we've been entertaining requests for purchasing property here for several months, and it's always the same. We're waiting on planning, some development going on. Some of the folks that do want to purchase lots adjacent to them have talked about putting homes up. So can you explain to us what the difference is?
So there's nothing that you guys can do to guarantee that a house will get there. They don't have to do that. So the goal is to see how we can work with a group to make sure that we get houses there. Just because you buy it, we can't force you to put a house there. So if you want to make it part of your side yard or whatever for the rest of your life, you could. So it's one of those things where we don't have a lot of property in this inside the downtown. So you want to be, say, cautious about what you give away. Now, if it's a 20-foot lot or a 15-foot lot, obviously that's a whole different story. We're not going to be, it's going to be very hard to put a house on that. So.
For those smaller lots, we're still entertaining purchases
or, there's a push down for smaller homes, things of that nature. So maybe that's something that could go on those lots based upon the size of the square footage. There's just a lot of thought being given to, we've been talking about it at Planning Commission as well. So it's just something we're kind of entertaining, but we have an opportunity with this lot. We don't own a lot of lots. The city doesn't. We own very few, but the ones that we do own, it's a little bit easier for us to make sure that we can get those back into productive use rather than just giving them away for basically dollars. What you're not going to get the money back over that. You could get much more back if you had a house on it over time.
Thank you. Before we take a vote, I'm going to ask for public comment. Is there anyone who wants to address this? All right, seeing none, then I'll ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion we deny at this time.
I'll second that motion.
And take it off the pending.
Yes.
Right.
I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry?
Nay.
Mr. Vincent?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Next item on the agenda is John Kelly Newcomb, Uplift and Restore CDC is requesting to purchase the old police annex station located on 204 Willard Avenue. What's the status on this? I think we were waiting for your input, Mr. York.
You will probably be getting a request from the Redevelopment Commission to take ownership of this property in the near future. We would like to take it and fix it. And then we'd like to basically have it redeveloped into something else.
So what you're recommending is that we deny this request?
At this time, yes. You'll probably get this request. I have to go to the board first, obviously have something approved. But me and Ms. LePage have been talking about this, and then it'll have to come to you guys in a form of a resolution, and then to the council as a resolution as well, to be transferred over.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Mr. York, you say in a couple months there'll be announcements, or you're at liberty to give us some sort of timeline for?
So we're working with an organization that we've began talking with. And I can't give you any more information right now, but they are a community development corporation. And that's some of the stuff that we've been doing with the redevelopment commission. And they will be working with some of these vacant lots to put houses on them. They'll be working to put houses on these lots. So that's
I'm just concerned with the announcement and with the interest of folks wanting to buy these properties. Is it going to be a combined announcement, or are we going to drag on each lot?
Again, nothing with this project. You guys can't guarantee that it'll even be fixed. You can't put a stipulation on that. The redevelopment commission can make sure that that building gets fixed and put back into productive use. So that's one reason why we'd like to transfer it. If it got hit by a car, it needs to be fixed.
I'm just
So you'd
looking
be
for
selling it as is.
a timeline for the public to know that this lot is eventually going to be available, or once the
So this is a
development committee is finished, they say that, yep, we don't want this lot. This lot is up for sale. I mean, is all of those decisions going to be made within a couple months?
Absolutely, probably by July. Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. And we may come back to you and say, hey, we don't want any of the other lots, and then people are free to,
Right, that's what I was
Absolutely.
looking for. I mean, we can't leave everybody hanging forever, right?
No. And the fact of the matter is to say there's 100 lots, we're not going to be able to build 100 houses, probably, something like that.
And we might as well let the public purchase the unused portions.
Correct. We just want to make sure that we're being strategic with where we do build and what we do put out there. So.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Mr. York, question, please. We cannot stipulate through code compliance.
We can, but we're already.
Would be fixed if we sold it to this individual.
You can, but it's a much harder process at that point in time. You see how the processes work. We'd have to give notice, come work through all that process. So then right now you have an opportunity to get it fixed. So you'd be right back.
Cost.
But you'd be right back into the cycle of getting it fixed. We can get it into productive use. So you'd be sitting on it for it may take a year or two to get it torn down if that's the process you wanted to go.
Okay.
So, and it's actually a viable building. It's not in too bad a shape right now. It just needs to be fixed.
Thank you. Before we go on to the vote, is there any in the public wish to speak? Okay, hearing none, then do I have a motion to deny?
I'll make a motion to deny and remove from the pending items list.
Support.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. Next item on the agenda is Michael Vincent is requesting the use of an alternate detour when Franklin Bridge is not in service. Mayor, what is the status of this?
Well, nothing's really changed on it. I haven't generated a detour. There's really only one detour that we have, and that's Center Street.
Right, and that's the reason I brought this up is maybe Captain Lewandowski can advise us into better detour routes or a better way to get around that with trailers and heavy traffic and such.
So I have spoken with Mr. Minnick about this. We both looked at it. A couple years ago, Center Street, Krieger Hill, the neighborhood around that area was resurfaced. But no, it was not only a simple resurface. We installed new angled parking for some of the businesses along Center Street, the restaurant, a couple of the other businesses. We also installed a new stop sign. Our recommendation would be to keep that as the main detour to the park. If we start trying to detour this traffic further east into that neighborhood, the streets are so narrow there that we would have significant problems with moving traffic through those streets. Currently, the only street side parking on Center and Krieger Hill would be those angled parking places. There's no curbside parking. So it, I guess, lends itself better to the free flow of traffic than if we try to detour it down Felton or some of those streets. And also, as I stated before, the manufacturer that's to the east of that location uses that street as their main truck route because they have no other alternate routes to get their trucks to and from their facility. So at the present time, we would recommend keeping Center and Krieger Hill as the main route. It's the shortest route into the park. So that would be our recommendation.
The only other street that could be used, as I see it, could be wrong, is Liberty Trail, north of 12th.
Yes,
then
and
you're
we do
going
have
down
truck traffic
Washington Park
occasionally
Boulevard,
using that.
Yeah, you have as many hills either way.
Right.
But if we went west or east, excuse me, on Liberty Trail, then we're going through more neighborhoods also, that the streets aren't designed for that.
Yeah, my main concern is traveling that direction when the bridge is out in detours, and it would be even more now because of the homes that are built, is the foot traffic going over a hill around a curve with 2 lanes of traffic with the Franklin Street Bridge closed. You're going to have a lot of traffic, and you're going to have pedestrians trying to navigate that, and that's a narrow street as well.
Yes, and we've dealt with that issue too. The streets are so narrow and the city right of way is so narrow that we can't put sidewalks in that area. So it's a continuing battle between pedestrian and traffic. So
Yeah, we'll just cross our fingers on the Franklin Street Bridge.
All right, we have a recommendation to continue the plan that we've used in the past for the detour being at Center and Krieger Hill. What's the board's pleasure?
I'll make a motion, we approve this and remove from the pending items list.
Support.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry?
Aye.
Mr. Vincent?
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Next item is Michael Vincent, Vice President, was concerned about the damaged guardrails on Carwick Road. Mayor, have you had an opportunity to get into this?
Well, it was pretty, Madam Chair, it was pretty lengthy, serious damage. And they have traffic lights going at that intersection again, not the ones that were damaged. They wired up some more. So we do have traffic control, but it's going to take a while to replace the original ones because they were heavy duty and they're severely damaged. I don't know if anyone can add to that, Captain Lineski or Mr. Perry.
I believe this is a separate matter. I believe they were talking about the guardrails south of the intersection of 12, actually down towards Berry Hill, the apartment complex down there. The guardrail on the west side of the road was severely damaged from an accident. So I'm not sure. I believe that'd be the street department maybe that would be responsible for the repairs or contracting the repairs to that guardrail.
Thank you.
Is that
Mr.
what you're
Smith?
referring to? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, no, that's.
Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Good morning, Sean Smith, Street Director, Central Services, 1801 Kentucky Street. Actually, both guardrails have been repaired 2 weeks ago. It was one at Carwick and Springland. There was also one, I believe, just south of the intersection at Carwick, and I believe it was Martin Luther King. So I'm just waiting on the invoice to submit to the insurance.
Thank you.
I have a question, Madam Chair, on who pays for property damage, whether it be a guardrail or something else from an accident. Is that city's liability or does the auto insurance?
Damage based off of accident, we take pictures. We then would submit that to personnel in the effort to recoup money for such damages.
Yeah, it gets submitted in my office and we submit it to insurance.
Very good. And the longer it goes, the less apt we are to recover.
Correct.
Is it? Yeah. Also, can you look at the guardrail at the corner, also on Carwick, at the corner almost by Krieger Middle School?
Krieger School, yes. I'm actually looking into that. We're actually trying to figure out whether it was damaged due to vehicles. So in that regard, if it's not damage to vehicles, we would then have to submit purchase orders and send out quotes to get it repaired.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, based on what we've heard, do I have a motion?
I'll move we remove this from pending item list.
Support.
And a call for the vote, Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Next item is Carrie McGinty, 225 Charles Street, is requesting to purchase property owned by the city of Michigan City located behind their property at 932 West 6th Street. Amber, I believe that you have some status information for us.
I do. So Ms. McGinty originally came to this board back in March, before a lot of our discussions revolved around the housing study by redevelopment, and she wanted to purchase a piece of property located behind her parcel. The city originally got that parcel from the county commissioners years ago by virtue of assignment when it went through tax sale, and it never got sold. When the county gave it to the city, they transferred it only by their parcel ID number. So needless to say, we don't have a legal description for it. So we can't offer it up for sale until we actually have a legal description. I looked through records, I worked with real estate. So finally, we're at a point where we need to hire somebody to do the boundary retractment and legal description survey for us. Hendricks Engineering has offered to do that, and the cost for that service would be $1,200.
Okay, are there any questions from the board?
None here.
I have a question, Madam Chair. Would this cover this cost? Would that cover the cost of sale?
We could try to recoup that when we go to sell it. We could add that into the specs. We've done that in the past.
I make a motion, we approve the survey.
Support.
Okay, then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The last item on the agenda was the matter that had been brought before us by Councilman Don Prespolinski. And this was concerning markers in the concrete curbs on Washington, Wabash, and so forth that were missing. My understanding was that, Brad, you were going to look into this?
That's correct. I contacted Alan Holder-Reed at NDOT, the traffic engineer, and let him know how many of the markers were down and expressed the interest Michigan City has in getting them restored, particularly before winter, so the plows have that identification where the concrete curb is at. So I have not yet heard back from NDOT in my inquiry.
All right. So we'll need to hold this over. About how long do you think you'll need?
I should have an answer by the next meeting,
Okay, next
second one in
meeting.
June here.
Okay, then we'll just continue this till the next meeting on the pending items list. Thank you. Next item is Michael Vincent requesting the reconfiguration of to create a center turning lane on Woodland Avenue between Barker and Cool Spring.
Again, I would ask that this be tabled until the next meeting. I just received all of the accident reports from the state late last week and haven't had an opportunity to go over those with Mr. Minnick. What we're going to do is we're going to look at all those accidents, and there was a lot of accidents within the last 5 years on Woodland Ave. But we're going to go through with those and see if any of them could have been prevented by the installation of a center lane. So hopefully we'll have an answer for you at the next meeting.
Thank you very much. And this will remain. And the last item on the agenda is Councilman Don Prespolinski. This goes back before we closed the crossings, but he had asked for signage at Ohio Street and Tilden Avenue, CSX crossings. What's the status on those crossings?
Well, the crossings have been fixed, Madam Chair. The barricades are removed. I would suggest we just, does it say severely rough? I would suggest we leave the signs in place just to slow people down over those crossings.
Okay. All right. Well, and then do you want to remove this from the pending items?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to remove it.
Let's have a motion then.
I make a motion to remove this item from the pending list.
I'll second.
Then I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. The next item on the agenda is public comment.
This is Tommy Kolovic from 1316 Ohio Street. First and foremost, I just want to recognize that today is D-Day. It's the 78th anniversary of June 6, 1944, when the Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy. So I just want to say God bless our troops. And, it's that time of year again. So as pursuant to section 54-231 of the Michigan City Municipal Code, I want to read the dates and times that the fireworks are permitted to be discharged within inside the city limits. It starts from June 29th, July 3rd, 5 p.m. to 2 hours after sunset. Then on the 4th of July from 10 a.m. to midnight. Then once again from July 5th to July 9th, 5 p.m. to 2 hours after sunset. I want to encourage everybody to keep their pets as comfortable as possible during these times. They get incredibly spooked through these events. I'll be staying at my mother's house out in the country those 9 nights. They pop them off down there, but it's not nearly intense as it is here in the city. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
If I may.
Sure, go ahead.
Again, Brad Minnick, Premier Engineers. Just wanted to make the board aware that I'm soliciting 3 quotes for culvert pipe on 945 South Woodland Avenue. The pipe appears to be failing. It's right next to the FedEx facility and across the street from the bus barn. So I'm working with local contractors to get pricing on that. The reason I bring it to the board is it may need to be replaced before the next session, which would require a street detour. But in the meantime, I'm waiting on the pricing for the contractors to repair the pipe.
Okay.
So I just want to make you aware of that and hoping to be proactive and avoid an emergency repair. But that would require an anticipated shutdown at 945 South Woodland for approximately 2 days.
Okay. Do you want us to put this on our pending items list, perhaps?
That'd be fine.
Okay, all right, let's do that then. Anything else?
No.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, you can come up.
Yes, good morning. Gene Simmons, Councilman of the 6th Ward, 1709 John Ave, Michigan City. I'm here to speak up. Brother, I brought some of my constituents to speak before the board in regards to ongoing noise complaint that's been going on in the neighborhood. And on the sidebar, they've been investigating and questioning the legitimacy of this business. With that, I'll turn it over to them.
Hi, good morning. My name is Richard Starry. My wife and I, we live at 838 Odell Street. And everything I'm gonna say here, we have proof and ready to give it to you guys for each one of the board if you request. I did speak with Mrs. Neulib over the phone all the time with Mr. York now, and who's helping us a lot too is Sue Downs from the building department. Actually, she's the one helping me build. We are rebuilding our home there and investing in the neighborhood. And for the past 9 months, we've been talking to Mr. Knoll from Knoll Tree Service across the street from us, and requesting him to like either fix or repair his issues that we have, like with amazing diesel smokes, clouds that are daily from Monday to Sunday, sometimes 2-3 times a day, from several machines, his truck, his chipper machine, and another one that he has there. And I referred to him and I said, Mr. Knoll, all your competitors take this truck and chipping machine to the job site and do the thing there. And you do it here 3-4 times a day. And the noise of it, would you like to see we have
It's over 89 decibel inside our
it's
house.
inside our home, with the windows closed.
89
We have
decibel.
89 decibels. When your ordinances,
Ordinance.
hold on. When your ordinance says right here that in your environmental ordinance that it cannot be more than 60. Okay, this is 3, 4, 5 times a day. And I know you guys don't have anything to do with smoke, with the diesel pollution and everything else, but knowing that, because we did talk to Mr. York and several of the code enforcement people of your city, and they were sent there by Mrs. Sue Downs, and it's like the smoke in there, we referred it to the IDEM. IDEM went to the site, checked it out, and sent Mr. Knoll a letter, very strong letter, asking them to stop all that chipping and all that thing and everything else. We do not have that letter because we spoke with the supervisor yesterday for IDEM, and they can only provide us that letter after it's published. But if the board needs it, they were willing to break that and email me that letter, that they are on top of it, because that cannot go. They said, they sent this letter to Knoll and said, you cannot do this kind of business and this kind of pollution and burning wood and everything else in those lots that they have there. And the noise issue is like, it says right here in your ordinances here, and I did talk to Mr. York, you guys sent inspectors there twice, and the inspectors then look at that, and I said, it's not only the noise, it's several vehicles that are parked in there, huge trucks. And there's one lot that you guys own, the Michigan City owns on the corner of Carwick and Odell. There are 4 trucks parked in there, 2 of them constantly for years and years and years. And then after Sue, Mrs. Downs complained and sent one of your inspectors there, they moved one of the trucks and another one was towed out. For a few weeks later, they park it again. They're using your property to park their trucks daily. And this truck in particular that has all this chipping and everything else there, they test it every day, or almost every day, but the truck does not move out of there. It's parked there. We have pictures from before we bought the property there in 2020, June of 2020. It's from Google Map, and before I do real estate in Chicago, but we decided to retire here because we like Michigan City and we like a diverse neighborhood. So I asked my attorney before buying it, I said, could you please check on this thing here? Because we saw a sign there, Knowles Brothers Tree Service. They rechecked, they said, no, there's no business registered here in none of those lots. But I told them there's a ton of equipment here, parked in here, never move. Nothing registered. Knowles Brothers does not exist, which we're gonna show you.
Knowles and Sons.
Knowles and Sons does not exist. The Secretary of State according to, before buying the property, my attorney gave us all this paper, which I'm gonna give it to you. Public record, he gave us due diligence before buying the property, says, this business does not exist. This business was opened in 1997 and shut down by the Secretary of State of Indiana in 2000. But the solution, several issues with the thing. And since then, it says there's a list like this big of taxes never, ever being paid. I think I spoke with you about that. Never. And I said, wow, how is that a business that never pays taxes can operate in here? Then we started checking further. It's not only the noise pollution, the smoke pollution, burning wood. The business then, all the city inspectors under Mr. York, the planning, the code enforcement people, which Mrs. Sue Downs got so upset with those inspectors, and apparently, because immediately when I spoke with her, I think days later they were fired. And these inspectors come to me once there and they say, oh no, those trucks, they can do whatever they want and everything parked in here, it's okay. They can chip, they can do, this is a business and is grandfathered in. I said, what? And I even showed Mr. York too. He also told me it's grandfathered in. I said, how can a business that doesn't exist be grandfathered in? There are 2 lots in there that this Knowles Brothers parents bought 40, 50 years ago. But we were reading here, and I have everything here for you guys. And I checked it with our real estate attorney. It doesn't apply grandfathered in a business that their parents bought something there. The business was, they had a tiny little business, but stopped. And then Mr. Knoll opened it again in 1997. It was shut down by Secretary of State. How is it that it's grandfathered in a business that is not registered, doesn't pay taxes? And there's another one from the state of Indiana here. Yeah, I'll show him that too. That it says that a business that doesn't pay taxes cannot operate. It's right here. But here we are. And this is the one that I wanted to show you about the noise. If you would like, I have, this is from our instrument inside of our home, with the windows closed. And here's the truck that's there for 10 years, and it's like 89 decibels. But every time I go talk to code enforcement, nobody can do anything. They send me to the police department, which we do go to the police department. Police department sends us to code enforcement. This happened 4 or 5 times in the past 6, 7 months. And I'm not blaming anybody here, but it's a ping pong thing. Nobody's doing anything. Nobody wants to do anything. And then just about all my neighbors that are here, chaplain from the police department went there to help us out. Mr. Simmons, our neighbor here, is like our neighbor from across, from a little bit on top of the hill. One of these inspectors, a very young, tall guy, very new inspector there, that this apparently Sue fired him immediately after I told her what I'm going to tell you. He tells me, no, you guys cannot do anything. Everything they're doing is legal. This truck is parked on your property and it's operating, making noises, never moves. I said, doesn't code enforcement do something here? It never moves, but pollutes and makes noise and everything else. No, everything they're doing legally, and it's grandfathered in. And by the way, since you're complaining, you're telling that your neighbors, you're talking to your neighbors, I'm gonna go give a citation to my neighbor up here that he has some chickens there, and he had to go to City Hall here to appeal all that thing. See, what kind of inspector is that code enforcement? I'm showing him clearly several code enforcement issues. He doesn't do anything, nor did another inspector, but at least that one moved a bunch of cars out of there. Immediately, I talked to Mrs. Sue, and this guy It's no longer at City Hall. So this is that. So we have noise issue. We have the pollution things here with diesel. The things, the harm that it can create, it's a daily thing. It's a cloud. May I show you the cloud of the diesel? Do we have the cloud or do I have it? It's here. This is a chipper.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your patience with me. Then we have all the diesels. Oh, look. This is dust here. All those pictures, by the way, we have a security camera. There has been a bunch of break-ins in the area. There are cars and this and that. We have that Ring camera. We have several Ring cameras. Because I work in Chicago and I have my wife and her grandmother, her mother, that's 90 years old. There's this, it's unbelievable. She went to the war, her mother, and we take care of her mother.
You need to go back to the microphone. We can't hear you.
Here's the pictures up here.
Look, this is the pictures of
Wow,
the
pretty,
diesel smoke.
pretty impressive.
This is daily, Mayor. This is the dust that they do dust daily.
Okay,
Issues with diesel,
okay, thank you.
dust. Did I give you two?
I just passed them around. We'll make
Please go,
copies for each
yeah,
board.
please go to the microphone to continue.
We take care of her mother, 90 years old there. And the lady, when this guy starts shipping here, she goes and in panic and starts shaking. And it's like she apparently, according to, she doesn't speak English, only Polish. She then says, oh, I'm going back to the ward. And then she starts screaming to God, please take me, God, please take me away. And I want to die. We are in a process of moving her away from our home to one of those homes that take care of people because she is dying there with this daily thing.
It's not only the noise, my mom is frightened and this is very unhealthy for all of us. It causes us anxiety,
It's all in
we
there.
are not able to function, talk, have a life. The 89, 90 decibel inside the house. And it's the air from the diesel exhaustions, it's causing us choking, coughing, and my husband is for healthy person, it's not possible to take it.
I had an attack because of one of those days, this cloud was so bad and was blowing directly into us. I started feeling bad. I have several heart conditions. I started feeling so bad that I had to take my nitroglycerin. She ran out and talked to the guys. They started laughing at her. I said, and then she said, this is no laughing matter. This is like, I have somebody dying there. Could you stop this thing here for a second? They started laughing at her. We go talk to Mr. Knoll. And apparently Mr. Knoll doesn't own anything. Everything here. Where's that thing about the company? Here? No, this is the lot. That the company was dissolved and doesn't belong to Mr. Knoll.
Yeah, we talk about the dissolution about the company already, and the Mr. Knoll and Sons tree service is
Excuse
blaming
me.
us.
Mayor, did you have some questions?
Yeah, a question or two, Mr. Starling. I can speak for myself only, but this is the first time right here in this council chamber today that I've heard about this. I had no idea what's going on. I will investigate it personally. And
Just one little
let
side.
me ask you a question. The property that this is emanating from, all of these nuisances, we've had a problem like this before in another area of town. What is there in appearance? Is it a commercial type building? Is it a business, or is it a home?
No, sir. This is empty lots, and I have copies. It's a tree service. I have here for you. This lady, which doesn't belong to the Knowles, but she owns everything there, because after Mr. Knoll would not only declare bankruptcy, but the Secretary of State shut him down, she bought everything. Those are all residential lots. I have them all here.
So it's zoned residentially, you believe?
Yes,
Right there,
R1D.
right there, we can get him, because that's why I asked that question. We had.
And they are
we had a very
expanding,
similar-
Mayor.
Okay, let me finish, please. We had a similar episode on Beverly Court, east of Cool Spring, east of Maple Street. They both run north and south. And we were able to stop that because they were operating outside of what the zoning for that area requires.
But not only that, it's like, how can a business that doesn't exist operate? I don't understand that.
Mayor, may I make a suggestion? Because this is the first time hearing about this as well. Maybe you and I can sit down with planning and powwow and
Yes.
try to come to a
Just a little
resolution.
note. The neighbors that we have here, they all complained about this for the past, they are born there in the back of those lots. They already complained for years about the same thing. Miss Jean, Miss John there. John, after we talked extensively with him, he goes and talks to Mr. Knowles, and you have to see the foul language directed to you, Mayor.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't think that's funny.
Yeah.
It's, this administration's been in office only 2 years, and this is the first we've heard of this.
Yeah.
Give us a chance to take care of it, sir.
Go
And I'm
ahead.
hoping that we can collectively come to a resolve of this whole issue. As you can see, they've been in contact with everyone. And we just need to resolve it.
Everyone pushes us to one direction.
No, we're not pushing you anywhere. We'll take care of
Not
it.
you, I'm just
We'll
saying.
take care of it.
Mr. York says this, and then it's like police department. And it says right here in your ordinance that both those two departments must be on top of it. And none of are. And the inspectors and everybody else looks like, and everybody tells me, our neighbors say, do not go and talk about the Knowles brothers because they're too well connected. But Mr. Simmons said, no, things are not like this anymore. Well, it's looking different here.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for your presentation.
Could I just give you the
Please, go ahead. That's fine.
for all the members?
Yeah.
Thank you.
They are operating on, this is a lot they purchased, residential, 2017. And they are pushing the thing to us.
That's dangerous.
No, yes, and to Mr. York and to everybody saying, no, it's grandfathered in, we can do business here. So
Okay.
Well, I think it's obvious to you that we take this very seriously, okay? And as the mayor said, he and the city attorney are going to get together and explore this. This is a very complex issue. You've got several actual issues here
Yes,
that need to be addressed, and each has to be addressed separately. So I think.
and
that-
IDEM is on top of it and is like, other state people too, because this is ridiculous. Everybody cannot do anything to us. Thank you, I apologize.
You've
Thank
stated
you.
your case well. Thank you very much, okay?
thank
We'll
you.
put this on the pending items list.
Thank you very much.
We need a motion.
Yep.
I'd make a motion, we put this on the pending items list.
Support?
I'll call for the vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Mr. McCormick,
Yes, Rodney McCormick, 617 Union Street. Vice President of the Martin Luther King Youth Center. I know Mr. Knoll, and I know most of the residents that are here today. I'm willing to open up my door to try to get some mediation so we can try to get this resolved. I was in Lakeland when it was only a township. My family's been there all our lives, and usually when we have problems, we try to sit down and talk about it. And I think that's what needs to be done here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Przybylski, 1716 Washington Street. I got a few issues, and I am going to put them on the agenda for the next meeting, but there's one issue that is, I think needs to be addressed right away since Mr. Minnick is here. Several years ago, when we were having flooding in the corridor, which I call Kinsel Ditch, which is a man-made, which at the time when I was on the city council, it was flooding out, and we were trying to figure out why it was flooding so bad. And the ditch runs up into all the way into the what is called in the geological survey the moraine, which is on the south end of town, and it runs south. It drains the whole south end of town, and it proceeds to the west side down by the city. I call it the city barns, but it's their city disposal area, and it runs through there through culverts. And so we tracked it down. It crosses into Porter County and crosses at County Line Road and US 12 and proceeds under one culvert under the South Shore tracks. And myself, and I was out there during a very good rainstorm, and I went and got, at that time, the president of the city council, who was Joey Winsky, and took her there to see this flooding, that this was like a restrictive orifice, and the ditch was filled up all the way to the top. So I'm curious to see if the South Shore, I know that they're increasing the culverts further on down by Furnaceville, if they are going to open that up and make it a double culvert. So I was wondering if the board could ask Mr. Minnick to look into that. And I don't know if they did any, and if the sanitary district at the time they were having that flooding and they created the pond, if they did any flood control studies out there. But I just wanted to bring that to while the construction's going on, that something gets done. And with the rest of my items, you got a long meeting. I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, Councilman. Brad, why don't you step up here? The question is the culvert system. He wants to know whether or not the South Shore is going to install a double culvert, I believe is what he's asking.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, can you take a look at that, please?
Understood, yes. I'll take a look at the existing plans and the proposed plans at that location.
Okay, and then let's put that on our pending items list, please. Do I
Yes.
hear a motion?
Is that the- Is that the draining ditch known as Brown Ditch?
Kinsel, he said?
Kinsel Ditch.
Kinsel Ditch?
Yeah.
Well, we got several of them. We got Strebo, Kinsel. I thought that was,
Well, there's a lot of history on that. Some people call it Kinsel Ditch as it goes through LaPorte County. Some people call it Brown Ditch, but Brown Ditch is further down, which drains the Ashfield dump. And I don't want to be critical of anybody because that's a resolved issue, but that's a different ditch. And now I don't know if it circulates into that wetland that goes all the way through Pine Township. People probably don't know that that's actually a bog back in there. And I don't know if it drains into that and then drains and leaches in to that ditch, because the water is brackish and it ends up, and they call it black ditch when it comes out in the lake, okay? There's a lot of history on that ditch. But the main thing is that it's a man-made ditch. It's a court-ordered ditch, so it's regulated, you know, by if we have a problem. I just want to know if we can do something, and because it's a stranglehold there, and that if we have a epidemic rain and you got all that rain, that flowage going down there, it's still going to end up being, binding up that flow on that ditch. Thank you.
Councilman.
Thanks.
We have a motion.
Support.
Okay, then a call for vote. Mayor Perry,
Aye.
Mr. Vincent,
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Go ahead.
One little issue. Since we started talking to the officials of City Hall, the workers of Knowles Brothers are using this here every morning at 7:40. We have it all in our Ring camera, you know, our security camera. Those devices here in the morning, afternoon, evening, and another one of his workers that has a direct exhaust, 2 towers of direct exhaust. They stop in front of our home, and the other gentleman, Neil home, and accelerate to the huge amounts of and we do call the police department.
Sounds like a pattern of harassment, doesn't it?
Oh, this has happened the past 2 weeks, and I did talk to Mr. Knoll, and he says, oh, he just bought it, he's testing. I said, really? How is he testing this thing for every single day, several times a day? Have you ever heard the noise of this thing here? It's unbelievable. And we call the police department, and they say, no, you have to take this with the code enforcement. But not being biased here, but when this lady that owns all this business, the lots and everything, calls the cops, always the same police officer gets there immediately, and we call 911 and nobody shows up. So it's like, what's going on? It's like, why is this bias thing going on? So
Okay, thank you.
and I have something else for you guys, and I'm gonna be done here. This is what my attorney gave us
Okay.
before buying.
All right.
The only thing is the first page, we just checked it again with the Secretary of State. This business doesn't exist.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Bila. I live at 3044 Ohio Street, and I wanted to shed a little light on the water problems that I've been following in the city of Michigan City for about the last 25, 30 years. In regards to Kinsel Ditch, first of all, I want to start my presentation by saying I've been working with Jim McCarty, who is since passed, about water problems on the west side of town. Tony Hendricks, the city surveyor, or county surveyor, and we went out with the GPS systems, and we registered the flow of the water down the Kinsel Ditch. Their water flow is roughly about 1% flow down to Black Ditch in Porter County. If you go to, first of all, I was opposed to dredging Strebel Pond because I saw it no useful use, but the city in its wisdom dredged Strebel Pond 68 foot higher than the level of Lake Michigan. Well, common sense tells you water runs downhill, except in Kinsel Ditch, that 1% decline of water going downhill has numerous obstructions in it. One of the major obstructions was the culvert on Highway 20, which the state of Indiana lowered it 3 foot to allow more water to flow down. Well, then that was resolved because I was involved in it a little bit. Then the next obstruction is the center of Strebel Pond. There is an obstruction in the center of Strebel Pond that prevents the water from continually running down to Black Ditch and Lake Michigan. and I can point that area out to you if you really wanted to study the maps. After you get past, after the water level rises high enough to get over this obstruction halfway down Strebel Pond, then you go to Earl Road. You'll see at Earl Road, that the south side of Earl Road and the north side of Earl Road, there is probably about a 2 or 3 foot drop in water volume. So then you go a little bit further on down under the CSX tracks. You'll see culverts under the CSX tracks that are half full of crud that is preventing the water from running down, further down into the, over by Hitchcock Street where standing water is still there. You'll see culverts under Hitchcock Street that are 36 inches above the level of the water. So I come to the conclusion back about 15, 16 years ago, and I'm not saying this as a joke, I'm saying this as truth. Water runs uphill in Michigan City because there's obstruction after obstruction after obstruction. After you go to Hitchcock Street, then you go onto city property. Under the Amtrak tracks, you'll see 3 culverts under the Amtrak tracks that are sitting roughly about 5 or 6 foot higher than the flow of the water. Then you go to County Line Road, and you'll see a little bit of trickle of water going into Porter County. I brought all this concept up to Mike Nolan about culverts. I think that was the initial topic. The South Shore took my advice, and they are installing 2 6-foot culverts to alleviate some of that problem. But the problem isn't with the South Shore and putting culverts. The problem is the fact that there are various obstructions that have to be maintained by the Michigan City Sanitary District, and they're not doing their job. I'll give you an example. The culverts under the CSX tracks that are half full of crud and mud, they got to be cleaned out. I've got video that I took probably 3 years ago of these culverts. And you go out there today and the same amount of crud is in those culverts as it was 3 years ago. The city of Michigan City is responsible to control, to govern the flow of water down to Lake Michigan. As I said, on the west side, it's a 68-foot drop. I brought this to the attention of the mayor when he first came into office, probably 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I can remember sitting here and talking about this concept. And to this date, nothing is done. We have a situation in the city of Michigan City that surface water in Village Green is being transferred to Trail Creek on the other side of town under a culvert that is buried 30 foot deep going to the east. We have a situation that needs to be resolved. Standing water will maintain its own stature if it is not allowed to flow freely down to the level of Lake Michigan, which is 68 foot higher than Strebel Pond. We make numerous mistakes, but nobody wants to rectify the mistakes. It's an issue that, again, I've got the county surveyor backing me up. So in response to the culverts, the South Shore is doing their job, but it's not the South Shore's total responsibility. It's the CSX responsibility, it's the Amtrak responsibility, and it's the city sanitary district responsibility to clean out these ditches.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Mayor, did you want to make any comment?
No, I think Mr. Bila said enough.
Rodney McCormick, 617 Union Street. Lately here, last couple of weeks, been having a lot of gunshots fired on York and York Street, Oak and 11th Street, Oak and 10th Street down to Lafayette. Police was out listening to the scanner. They run a group of people away and then shots fired right down the street. Since the South Shore started this project, It's gotten kind of dark over there. And officer safety and community safety first, and officer safety should be paramount here. But you need to try to light this up over there. And it's time to quit playing games. It's time to start putting cameras up on some of these street poles. We need to put an end to this violence and nonsense that's going on in our community. I live on Union Street. I hear the gunshots all night, 10 shots at a time. I know the officers are frustrated, the police department is frustrated, most of the community is frustrated. South Shore came and we sick of the road closings, and the lights are now parts of the troubled sides of our city is dark. It's time to put cameras up on poles. We have to do something. We can't keep living like this here. It's just a matter of time. Board of Works, please do something. We got to come up with a plan. I've never seen a police department that don't work with the prosecutor office, the sheriff department, the state police. I know we undermanned, and that was one of the other things that kind of concerned me about the Queen of All Saints thing. And we all know that the Queen of All Saints Fest is a good thing, but it brings out a lot of problems also. A lot of stuff goes on every day that fest goes on. In fact, I'm glad to see it when it comes and it goes. I just hope that we use our resources wisely and we see some kind of plan. I'm a community. I want to see a plan that's in place that's going to curb some of this nonsense. And I want to see a team of police and prosecutors and everybody working together to put an end to this BS. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. McCormick, can you give me those streets again? Oak and
York and 11th Street, York, all the way down to Lafayette, all in that little corridor right next to the tracks. It's terrible. York has always been a problem. It's an eyesore. Open air, drug sales going on. I've been complaining about that. I was out with the city inspectors a year ago, and we got our lives threatened. It was just, it's just chaos. Some of these landlords just don't care. They rent to anybody, but here, we all know the problem is. Now we need to come up with some solutions. And it's time to put those cameras up. Time for us to take some of that the ARP money and buy some cameras. Some that we can just remove, put them up for 60 days or so on one side and then move it over to the next side. But we got to work together to get these people off the street. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Mayor, did you want this on the pending items list or not?
Yeah, please, let's put it on
And I have the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, I call for the vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Board comment section now. Any board comments?
None here.
No, I would like to comment about the Singing Sands Festival this weekend. I volunteered out there and talked to a good deal of the visitors and the vendors and the people, and I heard nothing but positive comments. As the weekend progressed, the attendance increased. Had a real good weather day yesterday, so I talked to no less than 1,000 people out there, visitors, and every one of them were talking about how impressed they were with not only the Singing Sand sculptors, but Michigan City as well. So we're making good impressions on some folks out there.
Thank you for that feedback.
Madam Chair, may I apologize. I got into the open items so much that what I wanted to say kind of slid to the back
That's
of my
no problem.
mind.
Go ahead.
I want to thank the Michigan City Park Department, the Controller's Office, and everyone else who stepped forward to help out on the Singing Sand sculpturing event this past weekend. Despite the little bit of rain we had Saturday, it was a huge success. A lot of appreciation, a lot of kudos on it. And we're going to do it again next year. It's going to be bigger and it's going to grow. It's going to be very good for the city and the area. Really good event. I'd like to thank everybody sincerely who stepped forward, took their time out to work on it. And the last thing I wanted to mention, I did go down and check in on 11th and Franklin, and it more than likely is going to open today or at the latest tomorrow morning. They've got it asphalted. They've got one section of the second track in. Both approaches are done. So we should be back in business no later than tomorrow. It's not permanent because they've got to do the platforms and everything else. But that street should remain open for a long time. No, thank you.
Okay, well, I think that concludes the board's business for today. Do we hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Call for vote. Mayor Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Vincent.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well.